Okay, Wednesday the 15th of August. Let me get up to speed on where we are right now. We've used Rector seal pipe dope to seal these elbows. The mounting faces on the engine and the what do you call it? Thermostat housing are clean. Here's the thermostat in the housing, and now we're just going to install it on the engine. I got confused and put this stupid thing in upside down because I really misunderstood how it works. The cooling water comes through this cooled exhaust manifold and the what do you call it, the water jackets, and it gets to this thermostat, and when it gets warm enough, this thermostat opens up and lets the water escape out through the exhaust manifold. And it doesn't come in through this thing and go through the thermostat, it escapes through this thing. So that was a conceptual error on my part, and it resulted in me installing this thermostat cover bottom side up, and I couldn't figure out why the hoses did not want to mate to it, and it's because I'm dumber than a stump. Get the other bolt here. So once we got that past that conceptual difficulty, then this is the way it's supposed to be in here. I'm not convinced this is in the way it's supposed to be, and I don't want to wreck it. Now, and when I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get the hose on the bottom, no matter what I did, I realized that I was trying to connect the wrong hose to the wrong fitting. Before I snug this up here, I'm going to make sure I can get this hose on here. Previously, when we took it apart, there it goes. We took it off with the hose, took the housing off with the hose still connected to the housing. And now we're putting it back on and then putting the hoses on after the fact. But this is going to fit just fine now. Going to reorient this fitting here a bit. And once that's done, I'll make sure that thing's really tight enough. I don't think it's going to go a whole nother revolution, but maybe it will. Flanges are for the wrench on this fitting. Real clear. Well, they say everything you do on a ladder takes twice as long, and I think that everything you do on a boat takes Twice as long also. There, this could work. That's gonna be fine. Alright, so now let's get this housing snugged down all the way. 13 millimeters. Tighten alternately one side and the other. Good. Gaps the same all around. The only gasket here is the one on the thermostat, which mates against the exhaust manifold, the water-cooled exhaust manifold, and the seat that we cleaned up on the housing. And so, like you do with anything, you tighten alternately across the face of this side, one side and then the other. And I don't have torque settings for this, so I'm going to guess that about 24 foot-pounds, probably about right, between 15 and 30, 24, 25 foot-pounds, probably just about right. So that should be just swell. And put the tube back on the top here. That's going to go on there nicely. Came off the other end. But that's okay, because when I fire this up, I want to see water coming out this end of the tube. This is the end of the tube that goes to the water lift muffler, the elbow that gets water cooled. The exhaust goes in the bottom, and up at the top of the loop, the cooling water goes in. So I'm going to, when I start this up, make sure that the water is coming out of this right here. And I'll real quick jam it on the exhaust loop, but I want to absolutely make sure that water's going through the system, the impeller is working correctly, and all is right with the world. Okay, so now take my handy dandy little screwdriver. This is the tube that connects to the elbow that was on that little pilot tube that we repaired. So I'm tightening that up, or trying to. Not exactly. This is very interesting. They make a stainless hose clamp, and they make this screw out of ordinary old steel that can rust. Now, what kind of a cheap-ass dumbbell company saves a nickel? Why do they make the whole damn clamp out of stainless and use a screw that can corrode? That's dumb. That's dumber than a box of rocks. And somebody has managed to buy one and put it on the boat, so that goes on the list of things that should be changed. I don't know, there's always some company that will find a way to save a penny on an article, even if it makes the article really half useless. I guess if they didn't do that, the hose clamp wouldn't fail and you wouldn't have to go buy another one. Hopefully you're smart enough the second time around to buy it from a better company. Anyway, here we are. I don't have another hose clamp at hand, so since it still functions, and since it isn't hard to get to anyway, we're going to tighten it back up and putting a note in the do it list along with 1,000 other items to put a better hose clamp on there. Okay, that takes care of the lower one. Now the upper one here, which is the one that will spew water all over God's creation, and that's the same deal. Another stainless hose clamp with a ferrous worm screw on it. Just rusting away. I'm going to orient this screw so that it's pointing up, so it's really easy to get to. There's no point in the world in putting a hose clamp on something and then orienting the screw in such a way that Jesus and all his disciples couldn't get a tool on it to either tighten it or take it off. I found that over on the water strainer. You spend half an hour trying to get a hose clamp off because some doofus is mechanically dyslexic. Okay, so there we go. If there were oil in the engine right now, I could squirt some water in all the tubes, get the system primed, and start it right up, make sure it was working. But as it is, I've got to finish removing the oil from the engine and put fresh oil in it and change the filter before I can do that. So I'm going to stop this video for now and we'll go on to that later. I guess maybe you can see down in here this goofy oil change pump. Now this is a $10 or $12 pump from Harbor Freight, and you take a tiny little tube and you stuff it down the dipstick, and then you get a bottle and you use this thing as the lift pump to suck the oil out, and the bottle that receives the oil has to be lower than the bottom of the pump. It's a very short stroke and it takes a long time to do, and I have to do it all crouched down in that hole with the thing between my legs. Very uncomfortable, but that's what has to be done. So I'm going to do that now and not record all the swearing. But anyway, put a few hoses back together and tighten the clamps, and the cooling system will be ready to go again. So that's a big step.